Good morning, Peter, and thank you for your purchase. This is your first machine. This is the Oracle Touch in black truffle. As you saw in the photo, this one is a B grade, so it has some noticeable scratches mainly on the left, front, and a tiny bit on the right hand side. Honestly, nothing too major, and these will happen anyway over time. In this video, as promised, I'll be making a demo video, so making a full coffee, testing everything, grinding, brewing, and frothing. So I'll make this quick because I'm going to be making 2 of these. I like to begin with warming up my machine, so I would turn it on and keep it on for about 5 to 10 minutes at least. That'll warm things up. It'll mainly warm the internal components, all the piping, the portafilter, and if you put your cups on top, those will get warm as well. Not hot, just warm, because the top lid receives heat from the boilers. And next, I bring my cup, put it underneath, and brew a bit of hot water. "20 seconds should be more than enough." I forgot to say, you probably noticed the silver drip tray. So to keep your machine nice and clean, I'm using some of my parts, my own parts. I'm using my own drip tray, my own bean hopper, my own portafilter, and I'm going to be using my own milk jug. And that's to keep the accessories in your box nice and clean. We don't want the box to be wet. And of course, after the video, I'll be cleaning the machine as much as possible, and drying it before shipping it off on Thursday. But yeah, so that's the hot water done. The cup is hot now. Aim to have at least half or a third of your cup full of hot water, so that the coffee itself can be hot when it goes in. Next, I'm trying to grab a tissue. You want to dry the portafilter before making the coffee. And that's because the tamper is automatic and it depends on the friction of coffee with the basket itself. This here is a double basket. I would recommend this unless you have health condition preventing you from having caffeine. I would use the double. It'll be more consistent and it'll taste better as well. Being an automatic machine, you don't really have to measure the inputs and outputs, but for my curiosity, I like to measure those. This basket typically takes between 20 to 22 grams of coffee, and we'll confirm that now. I just zeroed my scale. You also have the grind size selection, and that's sort of most of where the work is finding the correct grind size, and each bean will actually will use a different grind size. But hopefully I'm going to be putting it in the ballpark for you. I'll put it in roughly the right range for coffee, so that when you get it you can not struggle a lot with grind size. At the moment it's on 12. I haven't made a coffee yet, but it's on number 12. Larger numbers mean coarser, so the particles of coffee will be larger and the water will flow quicker through them. So if you have a very large grind size, what will happen is when you make a coffee, you'll get a lot of coffee. You'll get an espresso shot that's this long, and that's obviously too much. You could like that, and if you like that, that's fine. You just do whatever tastes best for you, but in my opinion, an espresso should be 2-to-1 ratio, so if you put in 20 grams, we get 40 grams. Sort of like that, like a short espresso shot. And if you grind very fine, on the other hand, what will happen is the water will struggle to go through. If the coffee is very fine, like almost flour fine, it'll struggle to go through, and you may get very little coffee or none at all. So that's the balancing act you have to do. Before the video, I quickly ground some coffee and had a feel. 15 was a bit rough, so a bit coarse, so went down to 12. Hopefully 12 should give us a good result, but the only way to know is to make a coffee, and it's super easy on this machine. When you want to grind and tamp, you just do that and it does the rest. There we go. Nicely tamped coffee. There's sometimes a bit of loose coffee on the edges, just wipe those off. You can flip it upside down in the bin to get rid of those loose particles. They probably won't affect anything. Coffee looks good, maybe on the finer side actually. So we'll make a coffee and see what happens, but we might have to go a bit higher from 12. But again, you never know until you make the coffee. This is 23 grams of coffee. On the higher side, I will say, so the coffee will be nice and strong. If you like to add sugar or sweeteners, do that before the espresso to help it mix. And I'll do that later actually, just because we may or may not get a good result here. But yeah, usually before brewing the coffee, add the sugar if you like sugar. Okay, I'm gonna zero my scale again, and then let's see what happens. I think it'll be on the slower side, but I could be wrong. There we go. So it's too fine for the machine. As you can see, we're getting very little. I stand corrected. I said 15 is probably too large, but because these are good beans, I think it should be good to use number 15. Okay. So that's dialing in. You have to waste a bit of coffee. You have to try a few things. Quality of the bean is important. So if you use really good beans, you don't have to go very fine on the grind size. On the other hand, if you are using very cheap beans, you'll have to grind quite fine to get a good result out of them. So that's why it's always recommended to use good quality beans from the get-go. There we go. Give it a quick flush. Try that again. Right, just get it back. Forgot to put the amount on double. It should be on double because we're making a double shot. Single will go for about 20 or 25 seconds. Double will go for the full 30 seconds. It's probably... should have done that before. Anyhow, we'll try that again. We'll go to grind size 15. Make sure to try everything. So what I'm going to do, I've changed the grind size to 15, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of the first 3 seconds of grinding. Rid of that. And that's because as I'm changing the grind size, it's going to be a mixture of grind size 12, 13, 14 and 15. And then once I arrive at 15, I'll let it grind for another 3 seconds just to freshen up the coffee. Because some of the retained coffee in there is already ground at the grind size 12. So you want to use the correct grind size. You want to purge a few seconds of ground coffee. Now we're at 15. Should be a bit quicker now. Should be more than enough. Put that away. Okay, we'll grind again. there we go. Again, a bit of loose coffee. You can just ignore that. Measuring it, it's exactly 22 grams on the dot, which makes sense. Larger particles take more space. Lock it in. I might demonstrate the hot water tap. On this model, you have an easy long black function. So the hot water tap is actually, so I'm just tapping the coffee, sorry. The hot water tap is right next to where the coffee comes out. So you actually don't have to move your cup if you want to do a long black. You put your cup, you select the amount of hot water you want, select the, if you want a single or a double shot, and you press, and it'll actually give you the hot water and then the espresso shot, which is pretty smart. Makes life a bit easy if you like to drink black coffee. But anyway, the hot water tap is there. It's useful for obviously long black coffees. You can also use it to warm up your cups or make tea bags or whatever. In this case, I am adding a little bit of sugar to my coffee, so the hot water will dissolve that sugar, such that when I brew the espresso, it mixes right away with the sugar. Alrighty, reset my scale. I reiterate, you don't have to use a scale every single time. I'm just using it to sort of set up the machine and give you an idea of what a double shot looks like. Once you get the machine and you go on the right settings and you're happy with things, you don't have to use a scale. It's a fully automatic machine. The point of this machine is to be easy to use. But yeah, again, I repeat, for a double shot espresso, if you want it to be, the traditional recipe for espresso, try to go for a 2-to-1 ratio. So we're grinding 22 grams, you want to get 44 grams of espresso. That's double. Okay. Brew. And being a double boiler, you can always steam at the same time as brewing coffee. That's better. It's still on the slower side, but not too bad. Oh my god, that looks heavenly. Let me quickly show you. That's the bottomless pot filter that I use for testing and demonstrating. So yours won't be looking like that. Yours will have the 2 spouts. But yeah, that's actually quite a good result. Let's have a look. That's 30 grams. So it's on the lower side. I'm not going to make another coffee, but what I will say is try to go a bit higher on the grind size. It's on number 15 now. What I would do if I'm using the exact same beans, I would try 16 or 17. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on 17 for you. Try number 17. Your results may vary. You may get slightly different results from me because you're going to be probably using different beans. But yeah, thankfully, I'm happy that it's in the ballpark now. If you want to extract more coffee out of your shot and you don't want to waste it, just run it again. Not recommended to do that every time. It won't be a good taste to run it twice. But just run it again and it'll give you that more caffeine, more extraction. Just like that. And that's 44 grams. There we go. So this is what 44 grams looks like. That's what I wanted to do, just to show you that on this cup, that's about, 5 centimeters diameter. This is a double shot. You can just eyeball it. I usually eyeball it. I don't measure it every single time. And you'll know what's too much. So if I get, half of this cup for a shot, that's too much. If I get a few drops, that's too little. I'll just eyeball it as this much, really. And you'll be happy. Cool. with that done, and again I repeat, the point of a dual boiler is you brew and you steam at the same time. To cut the time in half, it'll be, you know, a time saver to have dual boilers. But for the sake of the video, I'm going to be doing them separately so I can comment on what's happening. We can do the cleaning later. So, with milk, make sure to fill the jug about halfway. My jug has a thermometer. You don't really need a thermometer, you have a thermometer in the wand itself. So fill it about halfway, or just below the spout here. Just below the spout with cold milk. I'm using full cream milk. I think that works best with coffee. Push it down, select your temperature and froth level. I like it on number 4 at 60 degrees Celsius. Number 4. Number 4 is not too much froth, not too little. Usually for a latte it's number 4 or 5. And to clean, I'm just going to do a flush. So that's a bit of hot water to clean the portafilter and the shower screen. And if you want to be extra nice, grab a tissue and wipe it. That'll clean the nooks and crannies in there and keep it nice and fresh. Milk is done. It looks good. I will just let it drip onto the jug, just so that we don't make a mess on the counter space. And then always make sure to have a wet towel or a wet napkin and wipe it off. Preferably a cloth, because tissues will disintegrate. I'm just quickly gonna grab a wet cloth and thoroughly wipe it off. Mainly obviously the bottom half and the bottom bit here. Lots of people forget this part. And then the machine is quite smart. When you push it down, it'll remind you that it's going to clean itself. Or before you push it down, it'll say push down to clean. There we go. And then it'll purge 5 times to clean the holes. Sorry about that. To clean the holes and the bottom bit here. I like to give it another wipe after that, and wipe the tray, because the tray will get a bit of milk on it. That's all done. Took us a while to get the right settings, but we're there. We got there. Quickly mix the sugar and the crema. Grab my milk. Made a bit of a mess, but here's the final result. Not my best work. With this machine you can get latte art and, you know, nice patterns if you use the manual mode, or if you're really skilled you can get patterns on the automatic setting. In my case, this is what I got, just a blob. Not a barista or anything, but yeah, it looks good. You can increase or decrease the froth if you don't like that, but I got, I'd say, a centimeter or so of froth, which is appropriate for a latte. And yeah, looking forward to having that coffee. The machine works beautifully, and hopefully now it's easy to use with the settings already there. Double shot, ground size 17, using the double basket. Should be good to go. Thanks again for your purchases. Appreciate your business. I'll do the second video tomorrow, and hopefully the machine's on, sending them on Thursday. And yeah, hopefully you should get them soon. Cheers.